Every empire says their money is safe. Every government believes that the promises they give will be valid forever. But history proves the opposite every time. From Rome to France, from the Confederacy to modern Lebanon, people have experienced the same thing over and over again. They woke up one morning and realized that their savings were worthless, their salaries useless, and their futures stolen by the systems they trusted. Collapse is not the exception. It is actually the rule. So the real question is this: do financial systems collapse? No, they always collapse. The question is, what will you do when that day comes? We always trust our money, our bank accounts, our national currency, but the truth is this: money is not a stone, it's a promise. It's a matter of trust, and that trust can disappear overnight. That's why history is both ruthless and instructive. Every collapse leaves us small clues. Who stays standing? Who loses everything? It's all written there. And if you pay attention, the same thing always happens. Not those who trust the most, but those who doubt first, survive. For example, the Byzantine Empire. After Rome collapsed, it managed to stay standing for another 1,000 years. And it owed this largely to its gold coin, the solidus. It was such a solid currency that everyone from Europe to Asia accepted it. It was literally like the dollar of the Middle Ages. But do you know what happened? Over time, they made the same mistake. They began to reduce the purity of the gold and mix in cheap metal. At first, no one noticed. Then one day, trust collapsed. That perfect money suddenly turned into a worthless piece of metal. And the result, the economy shook, trade decreased, wealth evaporated. But some people survived. Who? Those who held real gold and landowners independent from the empire. The first lesson is this: states always fall into the mistake of diluting money. And when that moment comes, real value escapes from fake money. But sometimes collapse doesn't come from rulers. It comes from outside. For example, the Black Death that hit Europe in the 14th century. Half of the people died. Cities emptied, villages disappeared. But something interesting happened economically. The labor force decreased so much that those who survived suddenly gained value. Wages rose, land became cheap, opportunities appeared. Those who survived, who had a little money, a little property, became very advantaged. They bought land cheaply, they grew their businesses. We saw the same thing during COVID. Supply chains collapsed, states printed trillions. But who won? Those who had liquidity, those who had cash, investments, reserves. The others were left behind. History repeats itself. Crises are opportunities for those with money, disasters for those without. And then there was Renaissance Florence. At that time, it was the financial center of Europe. Big banks were lending money to kings. When England's King Edward III didn't pay his debt, those too big to fail banks went bankrupt overnight. The city was ruined, and people learned that day there's no such thing as too big to fail. Institutions exist not to save you, but to make profit. When they fall, they take you down with them. The same kind of story happened in the American Civil War. Both the North and the South printed money to finance the war. The greenbacks in the North lost value over time. The graybacks in the South became literal trash. The soldiers' salaries became worthless before reaching their hands. People carried bags of money just to buy a loaf of bread, and in the end the winners were again the same: those who had gold, land, and food. In the 1790s, revolutionaries in France printed a new money, the assignat. On paper it was supported by church lands, but everyone kept printing and printing. The result? Inflation exploded, prices soared, and no one wanted to take paper money. Farmers said, "Give me silver." And the revolution devoured its own economy. Who won? Those who held property, not paper. 1997 Asian crisis. Thailand borrowed in dollars, then the exchange rate collapsed. Debts became impossible to pay overnight. Countries came to the point of bankruptcy. The same story again. Small investors lost. Those who had dollars abroad won. The lesson is very clear. If you borrow in someone else's money, one day you become their toy. Let's come to today. In 2019, people in Lebanon woke up one morning, and the doors of the banks were locked. Accounts were frozen. Money had evaporated. The money they had saved for a lifetime was suddenly worthless. So now we must understand this. The money in the bank's not your property. It's actually a loan you give to the bank. And when the crisis comes, the bank can say, we're not paying it back. Who survived? Those who diversified their money, those who held gold, real estate, or foreign assets. Everyone else was left in front of locked doors. All these examples tell one thing. Money collapses, systems collapse, trust collapses. But history always rewards the same people, those who think early, those who are prepared, those who hold real values. And the ironic thing is this. Collapse is not only destruction, it's also opportunity. For the unprepared, it's disaster. For the prepared, it's opportunity. Just like after the plague when peasants became landowners. Just like after the 2008 crisis when those with cash bought houses. In short, protection is not only defense, it means taking a position. But we must not forget, wealth is not only what you own, but what you can do. Those who bake bread, repair, produce, trade, they are the ones who truly survive crises. Money loses its value, but production never does. Real security is not the promise of the state or the banks. It's the real value in your hands, whether it's gold, skill, or land. History always says the same thing. Crisis is a transfer of wealth, from the trusting to the prepared, from paper to reality, from the passive to the productive. So the question is not, will the system collapse one day? It will. It always does. The real question is, when that day comes, what will you be holding?